Arcane is a series that came out of nowhere. Premiering on Netflix last November, I've heard nothing but praise. It intrigued me right away because of how it presented itself. It has such a stylized animation style and a very deep, dark story. Something that is definitely up my alley. It is based off League of Legends, a game that I have very little knowledge of. I did play it though for a couple days. I used her, and I ran and I did things. I killed others and I took their stuff, I think. Then we made it with the other players to the thing, and then we won. I don't know. While the gameplay itself doesn't exactly grab me, the character designs do. The art is fantastic. While a lot of the champions can come off as a bit samey here and there is a few particular ones that I do really like. Arcane is basically that. Take some of these characters, expand upon it, make a real story about it, and give it a huge budget. So here we are. Glorious reviews across the board, and months later, I take a look at it. Just a heads up, spoilers are discussed in this video. Let's take a look. The series is basically split between three different sets of characters. There is Vi and Powder, sisters who were taken in by Vander, a leader of a small rebellion group living in the undercity of Zaun, who are pressured by violent enforcers from Piltover, the rich utopian city up above. There is Jace, a scientist who is trying to prove that magic can have a good purpose in modern day age, and partners up with Victor, a sick crippled man, in which they try to invent new age technology with pieces of arcane gems, much to the dismay of his mentor Heimendinger and the hesitation of the council. And finally, we have Silco, one of the antagonists of the series, who intends to make Zaun an independent city away from Piltover, but goes about it by conducting an addictive steroid called Shimmer, which mutates and accelerates a person's body when consuming it. These three characters clash together as the show progresses, with shocking reveals, brutal violence, and some really badass animation. That's where I'll start talking about it first, the animation itself. It's what mostly intrigued me about the show to begin with. It has a unique blend of 3D CGI and 2D animation together at the same time, mostly used for smoke particles, explosions, and impact frames. But it gives it a nice style that is basically eye candy the whole time. Art direction is also very strong. The city of Zaun gives off a gritty, dirty steampunk style, which contrasts greatly with the bright, symmetrical look of Piltover. It really works and brings together the whole rich versus poor theme they have going on here. All the characters feature amazing facial expression as well. They put a ton of detail with each emotion that's just so great to witness. It reminds me of the Prince of Egypt, how they're able to show the most subtle movement in the lips and the eyes to really make them feel more alive than ever. It's the same here. It helps get yourself more attached to each character just because of how well their emotions are animated. The way they actually look resembles that of the artwork of the game itself. Everything just looks and feels like a 3D painting, and it's crazy how much work they put into this. Now the characters. Each episode is around 40 minutes long, but I honestly didn't even feel the length drag on for me because of how well written the characters were. Each one was intriguing, and I was able to adapt to the drama and how good the voice acting was to carry them. Vi is a fighter at heart, but deals with a lot of struggle of everything around her. She wants to fight back against all the enforcers because of them killing her parents when she was younger, thinking that they're all corrupt. And the only way to make a good amount of money is stealing from residents that Piltover up above. She is aided by her younger sister Powder and her friends Milo and Clagger. Powder is intelligent in terms of constructing weapons, her specialty being bombs and explosives. However, she is filled with a lot of trauma and anger and some serious abandonment issues. As the show progresses and episode 3 occurs, her bomb meant to save Vive and her friends ends up costing most of their lives. She abandons Powder in a fit of rage and they become separated. Grown up, Powder, now called Jinx, due to Vi's friend Milo calling her that because of her constant screw-ups, is very mentally unstable, often hallucinating images and voices in her head, and has been taken in by Silco. Silco is a smart, dark, and violent man who aims to simply control over Zaun and stick it to the rich folk up above. He was almost stopped by Vander a long time ago, who was with him at first, but betrayed him at the last minute. After he had thought to have killed him, he returns for revenge against him. He takes in Powder as his own daughter because of the sympathy he feels for her. He says they have both been betrayed by people they thought they could trust, making Powder side with him. Jace and Victor have to argue their way through the councils of Piltover to even give him the approval to continue his research and conduct his experiments on Hextech, which is machinery powered with magic. He wants to conduct this technology to basically make the world a better place and more convenient for everyone. Jace is a very hesitant man, who has a lot of passions and motivation to go through with his work, but he is often downplayed and has decisions made for him from others, such as Mel, an exiled woman from House Medarda, and especially his professor, Heimendinger, who always advises to prolong the project and even intends to destroy it once he sees how dangerous it starts becoming. Jace can't often think for himself, leading to a lot of complex decisions throughout the show. However, once Jinx steals a gemstone, an infinite source of arcane magic, it becomes a huge search mission to retrieve it back. Vi goes on a hunt after Jinx after learning that she's working with Silco. Jace is trying to settle political tensions arising from clashing cities and to win against arguments. Victor is trying to contain the newly formed Hex Corps all by himself as he begins to die from an illness, and Jace's friend Caitlyn joins the Enforcers to crack the case by herself, whom she ends up teaming up with Vi. As you can see, the character department is very dense. There is a lot to dissect and discuss here, but I mainly wanted to give the basic gist of what's going on for anyone curious enough to see it. It's why I said that the pacing is strong, because everyone has their own layer of problems to watch unfold, and it's really cool to see be put together. I am leaving some other important details out and some other characters I didn't mention, but I don't want the video to be 30 hours long, so I'll leave it at that. Plus, I don't want to spoil everything. Regardless, Arcane is a great show with high stakes, amazing animation, and strong character drama to watch unfold. However, there is at times where the political aspect of the story gets a bit in the way. Not enough to ruin it or anything, it's still interesting at the end of the day. It does break up the pace here and there sometimes, but they still did a pretty good job at it overall. Honestly, I don't really have too much to complain about in this show. It's all just super solid throughout. Except with that opening theme. I'm sorry, I'm just not a fan of Imagine Dragons. They play that song non-stop on the radio nowadays, and I'm just sick of it. They did announce that Season 2 is definitely happening, so that's good at least. Unless Netflix decides to be assholes like they have been recently and pull the plug for more Boss Baby. F***ing Boss Baby, like seriously, f*** up! Anyway, with that aside, this show is very solid, and I'm very intrigued to see more of it and what they decide to bring for the next season. Regarding Jace's struggle with Hextech and trying to be a good counselor, how Zaun will become a proper city, and the fate of Jinx since she has a very loose cannon at the moment. I highly recommend it to everyone. Even if you don't know everything about League of Legends, this show does a good job introducing you to these characters without forcing anything regarding the game down your throat, which I appreciate. I'm giving Season 1 of Arcane a solid 8 out of 10. The next series I'll take a look at is Maya and the Three, another Netflix show. It's done by the same guy that made El Tigre and The Book of Life, so it'll definitely be worth the watch. As always, thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you all next time.
Just what